Good evening, everyone. We welcome you to the public hearing for the Utah Transit Authority in regards to our 2021 tentative budget. So this evening is Wednesday, November the 11th of 2020, and we certainly extend our thanks to veterans this day as we celebrate them and their commitment and sacrifice to our great country. We are also, for those who would like to make comments, there's an opportunity here in person and also through our WebEx link, and those who are wanting to have requested that permission, but we certainly welcome comment. This is just the beginning of our comment period, and so there will be many opportunities over the next month or so for the public to make comment. Let's begin by having our safety first minute. And with that, well, let's see. Yeah. Sorry. We're going to have our safety first minute. We've invited Annette Royal, our Director of Governance, Board Governance, to give that safety minute. Annette?
I was hiding behind the pole, Carlton. Sorry. Well, as some of you know, I live in the mountains, so I've enjoyed some great snow over the last few days. I've had the great pleasure of driving to the office with my brand new snow tires that I got on yesterday. So it's a good reminder that winter is coming, and so if you haven't checked your tires or your treads or rotated them, or actually put on some new tires through the snow, I just wanted to remind you that it is 2020. And nothing can be expected or predictable in 2020, so it's a super great time to schedule a time to go in and get your tires checked.
Great, thank you, Annette. Very timely information. We'll go next to our budget overview, and this is, we'll ask Bill Green, our CFO, along with any other applicable staff to make that presentation. Bill?
All right, thank you. Good evening, Chair Christensen, Trustee Holbrook. For the record, Bill Green, CFO. And thank you for this opportunity to discuss the 2021 tentative budget at this public meeting. First slide, please. Thank you. So early in the budget process, the management at the UTA, together with the board, laid out some budget strategies. And you can see the operating budget was designed primarily with the goal of fiscal responsibility. Secondly, in April of 2020, are you getting feedback from me?
No, you're fine, Bill.
Okay. So back in April, in order to limit the spread of the COVID-19 virus, keep customers and employees safe, and respond to the dramatic losses in ridership and fares, and react to projected steep reductions in sales tax revenues, UTA enacted service changes that reduced trip frequencies and span of service on bus, tracks, and front runner. We suspended some commuter routes and ended Saturday front runner service early. 4 months later, in August, as a result of increasing ridership, public feedback, and changes regarding COVID-19 policies, much of the service that was changed or reduced in April was restored or even improved beyond pre-COVID levels. As a result of the August changes, UTA service levels were restored to about 91% of what it was before the pandemic. So the 2021 budget request that you have before you that was approved, the tentative budget that was approved by the board, is heavily influenced by the COVID-19 pandemic and our response to that. You can also see in the budget a couple other themes, centralizing budgets to improve the clarity, ownership, and overall understanding. A couple of examples of that: we transferred some money from multiple departments to IT to centralize hardware and software, state of good repair software and hardware, and then we consolidated UTA software-related contract services, centralized computer hardware, and other activities primarily in the IT business. Repurposing funds, we're doing the most we can with, the most with less. And for an example, utilizing savings in operator training, wages, and benefits to fund additional employee development programs and seed the new maintenance apprenticeship program. Next slide, please. Let me talk about some of the key budget assumptions. I'll just touch on a few of these. Labor expenses are growing as part of a new collective bargaining agreement. that was signed in October. I think they're relatively modest increases. The fuel prices were adjusted down from the budgeted amounts in 2020, $2.50 a gallon for diesel and $2.34 a gallon for a gasoline. Just for your information, the 2020 diesel prices have averaged about $1.45 a gallon through the end of September, and the 5-year averages are lower than that $2.25. So we feel pretty confident in that $2.25. Sales growth tax rate is projected at 5%. That's obviously our largest source of revenue. We feel this is a conservative estimate, though. We had earlier projections from the Governor's Office of Management and Budget that were ranged between 5.2 and 6.2%. Excuse me. And we've all been amazed, actually, at the resilience of the Utah economy, and we're seeing sales tax revenues very strong. We're going to be in low single digits change from our projections at the beginning of December last year. So the Utah economy continues to amaze everyone. Passenger fare revenues reflect lower ridership as experienced so far in 2020, and we're projecting that trend to continue in 2021. The very bottom note, CARES Act, is a very important note. We received $187 million in CARES Act funding and a grant in 2020 to help us maintain service and offset some of the lost revenues in passenger fares and other areas. We've spent about $86 million of that in 2020, and we will exhaust the remaining $101 million in 2021. Next slide, please. Let me talk a little bit about budget changes in 2021, and we'll start with service. We talked a little bit about the change. We'll talk quite a bit about the changes that we did starting in April and then the add backs in August. Just let me put that in some context for you. The 2020 budget, we anticipated about 43 million riders. And in 2021, we're now projecting slightly less than 20 million riders, so about a 55% reduction over what we had thought was going to occur in 2020. On the service hours side, we had about 2 million service hours budgeted in 2020, at the beginning of 2020, and we're projecting now about 1.8 million, I should say. And then service miles, kind of the same picture. We had projected about 35 million service miles last year about this time for 2020, and now we're projecting about 29.3 million for 2021. We've also budgeted, you'll see if you dive into the details of the budget, we've added budgets in the operations side for pandemic supplies. We've increased a rail cleaning contract, and then other activities particularly related to COVID. So the emphasis has been on ensuring a safe and secure system and kind of learning to live in this new environment. There's $6.5 million set aside in this proposed budget as a contingency, if you will, to fund emerging needs as the region continues to react to and recover from the pandemic. So if we do see an opportunity and the ridership starts a strong recovery, we'll use that money to maybe start introducing some new ridership or some new routes and new service. Not new routes, excuse me, new service. Next slide, please. On the operations and support side of the budget, which makes up about 14%, 15% of the budget, you can see there that we've got some changes. Information technology, we're a net increase of $1.5 million for equipment replacement and upgrades. Like all transits all over the nation, we're relying more and more heavily on technology to help us deliver our service. We've got automatic vehicle location systems. There's upgrades. We're starting to introduce tablets all over our system. There's TMS pilot upgrades, and just a lot going on in the introduction of technology and replacement of aging systems and introduction of more modern systems. Next slide, please. On the headcount side, net headcount reduction of 53, and on a future slide you'll see the totals. But overall, that's primarily driven by the reduction in service that we talked about, about a 9% reduction in service overall. So 33 reduced FTEs. It should be noted, though, that included in the net of all of these changes, there's 12 additional service staff added to bus related to COVID and keeping the buses safe. You can see there a heavy emphasis on asset management. That's going to be a theme in our budget. You'll see that maintaining a state of good repair is one of the prime goals and one of the priorities of the system in this budget. And again, thanks to the CARE Act's funding and overall management approach to the pandemic, UTA was able to avoid layoffs or reductions in force of operators and maintenance staff, which are particularly hard to recruit and hire. And so we're well poised for a recovery. And the reduction was mostly accommodated through attrition. Next slide, please. At a recent board meeting, the trustees adopted a resolution enacting some organizational structural changes that are reflected in this org chart above and in the 2021 tentative budget. Next slide, please. So this is kind of a tabular view of the budget changes. You can see the difference between 2020 and 2021. And you can see there's some major reductions in bus and commuter rail. You can see kind of an anomaly in there that the light rail is actually up $3 million. What that is we moved some heavy maintenance that we were formerly capturing in capital. And it was a accounting necessity to move that and actually capture it in the right place. So really it was maintenance and we were capturing as capital. So we're basically moving about $3 million from capital to operating there. That's why their number jumps. And you can see at the bottom, we talked about in the non-departmental, we talked there about the $6.5 million contingency to help us react and recover to COVID. As COVID emerges and changes, we'll be poised to react to it. Next slide, please. So this chart, I think the major takeaway from this chart is just exactly how much is spent on operations. And you can see there it's the lion's share of what we do, well, 80%. Next slide, please. Again, another breakdown. The budget's cut a lot of different ways, but this is an important slide because I think just like all transits all over the country, you can see about 72% of our total expenses are spent on labor. That's wages and fringes. And then you can see fuel. You can see a reduction there, primarily a result of our reduced assumption on fuel prices, but also a result of some of the assumptions on reduction of service. So both consumption and price go into that 21% reduction. So overall, about a 3.2% increase. Next slide, please. This is the headcount chart that I was talking about. And you can see there the big reduction of 33 in operations. And that, again, as I said, was attained primarily through attrition. And you can see kind of the ins and outs in the others. The people office, there was an associated training element with the operators that we were able to reduce in there. So that's the biggest cause of the reduction down in the people office. And then there's some restructuring and so forth going on. So there is some movement among the other categories. Next slide, please. So we came to you in September and we also went to the local advisory council and gave a draft budget presentation on the capital budget in September. Between that time and when the board adopted the tentative budget, we learned a lot more. We were able to sharpen our estimates and change our assumptions somewhat. But you can see the major takeaway here is the heavy emphasis on state of good repair, asset management. I would even argue that the Depot District, that's a direct support for maintenance and state of good repair. And there's other maintenance and state of good repair projects in here. For example, down at the bottom in that large group of other capital projects, it includes things such as the Sandy parking garage, light rail seat replacements, end of service line operator facilities, point and mountain study, and bus improvements and other activities. Next slide, please. Next steps. So we started with in November, early November, the board adopted the tentative budget and set the public hearing. We had a virtual public meeting last night, and here we are tonight at the public hearing. Next week, we'll be headed off to the local advisory council to present the tentative budget and to get their input and their advice on the budget document, the tentative budget. And then we'll come back before the board on December the 9th for the final budget presentation. And then all things going according to plan, hopefully, then the board will take action. They'll consider taking action on December the 16th. And I think it's very important, as the chair mentioned, this is just the beginning of the public process, and the public's encouraged to have input into the process. And I think the next couple slides will get into that, but that basically represents the end of my presentation. Thank you. Next slide. Any questions? Next slide.
Bills, rewards. Okay,
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Are we okay to go to the next one? Okay, sorry, I was making sure I wasn't off. So we're going to go forward to item number 4, which is previously received public comment. With that, we'll turn to Megan Waters. Megan?
Hi, this is Megan Waters. Good evening, everybody. I actually have not received any previous public comment on this tentative budget for 2021, so I have nothing to contribute to this section. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. With that, we'll open up for public comment. We'll start with those who are here in our room, here at our offices. And are there any here from the public that want to make comment? Okay, seeing none. I would just also make note that we'll ask that you limit your comments to 2 minutes. I do believe there's somebody who, or some who have joined us by WebEx, and with that, we'll ask staff to introduce them, and we'll let them tell us their name, and then take 2 minutes to offer comments.
Thank you, Chair. Brooke Green, are you wanting to make public comment?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, I just wanted to say you guys did a great job. I think everything looks great.
Well, we love those kind of comments, Brooke. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, good job to all of you guys. You have a great team, I think.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Next individual.
Donald Geberts, are you wanting to make public comment?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I didn't realize I was next in line, but I'm an engineering student at UVU, and I just recently found out about this meeting. Where can I find more information about kind of the data, future trends? Because just more information about this.
Okay. If you'll leave your information to our staff afterwards, we would be happy to connect with you. Next comment.
Georgia Chapman, still great. Can you mute yourself, please?
If you are asking for my comment, I still heard you breaking up. Talking to me?
Yes, George Chapman, you're ready for your comment, please.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that it's only 2 minutes because you don't get many comments. I'm sorry. You should do 3 minutes is my basic comment. Okay. I'm disappointed there are no previous comments. I think that's a big issue. Again, a lot of my comments should be adopted for the budget because I give you comments every week and a lot of them are applying to the budget. So my most important comment is you got $187 million from the CARES Act and nothing for riders. Come on, implement the $1 bus fare. It's really, really important that you understand the difference between rail and bus fare elasticities. And I hope somebody there at UTA understands that. You should be spending money now to increase ridership or accept low ridership for the next 10 years. And without a ridership increase, there will be no justification for any projects, including any BRT. UTA cannot justify spending $100 million for the BRTs for 1,000 or 2,000 passengers a day. Remember, you promised 5,000 riders a day on the S line. to justify 40 million, and it never got above 1,600. It's now 650. And every day I see reasons not to ride buses, cars parked so close to stops that they force buses to stay into the street. And I sent you a picture of a sign from UTA that told bus drivers to stay away from the curb. How dumb is that? So you also need a better server and software system. Load balancing is a warning system. You shouldn't need to load balance. And your WebEx audio is wrongly set in the audio software setting. Again, stop covering up windows, clean windows, encourage ridership. It's the next best reason to ride a bus, according to experts. That's my 2 minutes. And I still think you should allow 3 minutes.
George, if you would like one more minute, we would be happy to afford you that 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much. Just, you cut me off at 2 minutes, and 2 minutes and 20 seconds I was going to thank UTA. The previous commenter asked for more information, and UTA has actually been pretty good over the last couple of years since the new system went into effect. You put into effect an easy way to find all the reports, including daily ridership reports. And that's impressive, but you also put in front runner future possibilities and other future plans, and I want to congratulate you on that. I still think you should be doing more. You know me, I want more always, but I'm very, very concerned about the lack of ridership increase. You're down 50% still, even though traffic on freeways is back to 90% of normal. And that's a warning sign. So right now, for the next couple of months, I'm asking you, implement a $1 bus fare, publicize it, and get more riders back on mass transit. If you don't see the ridership increase in the next few months, I am thinking that you're going to have low ridership for the next 10 years. Those are my comments. Thanks for the extra minute. You can turn me off now.
Oh, sorry.
I think, yeah. Try again.
Seeing no other public comments, either through our WebEx portal or here in person, we would just note that the budget is available on our website. The public comment opportunities are available through December the 11th of 2020. There's also a way to contact us through our hearing officer or to submit comments online prior to consideration for the board for final adoption. With that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes and our meeting will stand adjourned. Thanks to staff for a great job.